All right, so just basic introductory, going to do a quick setup for a motion graphics piece. For anybody who's never used Cinema4D, these are for people who've never used any 3D program, or if you've used Maya. And we're going to kind of get an idea about how the interface works. This is for Matt Marigold, who's doing a kind of a hockey piece, sort of like a hockey simulation. So I'm going to start with a simple cylinder object, and you can scale the object by using these little icons here. These are set to centimeters, so 207 centimeters. How big is that? It doesn't really matter. You can make these things larger than life. But if you want to work in real world units, if this were a hockey puck, I would say get out your tape measure, which I always carry with, and I recommend you do the same. And check your scale. Hockey puck is probably 15 centimeters across. Now, it may be better to make something a little bit larger just because it's easier to manage in the viewport. But let's say I make the radius 8, which is the diameter is actually 16. The Alt key is the orbit, Alt left mouse button, orbits, and you move your mouse over an object like this. You move it over out here in the viewport space, it kind of creates an arbitrary pivot point. So click on the object and it'll pivot around that point in space, which is kind of cool. I'm going to grab this top little icon there and pull this down. So that's roughly a puck. So we can move in. Alt right mouse button moves in and out. Alt middle mouse button pans. So if you have a 3-button mouse, it works better. I'm going to make this cap fillet and bring the segments down to 1 and make this segment's radius about there. If you hold the, I think it's the Alt key, you can kind of more fine-tune the settings, or this second little dot that shows up, that's the fillet amount there. So it kind of gives you a nice interface for moving stuff around. Here's the move here, move there. So I can move this around. I'm going to put it up on the ground plane. So currently it's at, go to the object here, it's about the height of about, let's say 4 centimeters. Make it nice and easy. And under coordinates, it's the position Y should be 2 centimeters. And that will get it right on the ground plane. Like that. Speaking of ground planes, let's put a ground plane in there. You can hit Create and hold the mouse button down. If you're using the light version of Cinema4D, most of this stuff should work for you. Click on plane and you can do the plane the same way. I can grab these these end points here, and those will allow me to expand it out to a larger object. Let's make a little kind of the outer edge of the hockey ring, and I'm just going to make this an arbitrary scale. I'm going to shoot it from the corner, so I'm only going to see really this corner of we're doing a little set construction. So from the top view, and if you hit the middle mouse button, click once, you can make this a 4-view setup. And if I use the top view, I can zoom out here, and I'm going to, first of all, create a camera. So I know which angle my camera is going to be at. So I can go to Create Camera. I'm going to create a regular old camera with a target. So this is a camera with a target system. There are 2 objects. The camera itself, which is here. If I can zoom out, there's the camera. And a target point right there. I can move the target point around, and that will allow me to change where my camera's looking at. Right now, the target point is kind of an invisible object right there. If I zoom in kind of tight, you can sort of see it. There it is. If I click away, I should be able to see that target point at some point. You can always go over here into the kind of outliner view and just click on the target right there. I can move it around like that. I'm not seeing what's through the camera view. And by the way, you can also click on the camera view and move that around too. If you hit W, it moves to world space, and right now I'm moving this in its own object space. So if I move along the Z-axis, I can move it in and out of the viewport, in and out of the view. Hit W, I can move this in the world space view and move it just around inside of world space. If I zoom out here in the side view, the front view, I can kind of bring it up and down and move it on the Y-axis and the X-axis. XYZ equals RGB. So if I move out here, if I double click on the camera icon, not the camera word, you can double click there and change the name of the camera, but the camera icon, you can pop in and out of the camera view. So now, if through my camera view, I can move the camera around, I can actually see it coming into space. From the right hand view, you can pull this down away. These little controls right here, I can actually zoom in and zoom out, which just keeps my camera in the same location, but allows me to do a telephoto or a wide angle. I'll keep it roughly there. And under the camera, you select the camera. Under the object itself, you can actually set the focal length to millimeters. So a 50 millimeter is kind of a natural lens. A 80 millimeter is a portrait lens. A 28 millimeter is a wide angle lens. So those are kind of default settings for these kind of cameras. So pick your camera, pick your lens, and move around in the space. I can use the same Alt right mouse button to zoom in, Alt middle mouse button. I can no longer pan, however, because now I've got this target that I'm looking at, which is the target there. And I need to move the target around to see where I'm located at. So I can move this target around. I would recommend not locking it to this hockey puck, but actually just moving it somewhat nearby. Cool. There's my camera view, and again I can hit double click on the camera, and here, oops, if I actually activate this view, I can actually activate any view and double click the camera, and this will become my camera view or not. There you go. So I've actually unlocked the camera view. Now this is sort of like a user view, just a sort of general panning view, like the crew would be looking at. So if I click on here, double click the camera view, and for the wireframe, you can change display to garage shading. And this is my camera view, and now this is my kind of constructor view, I guess. So let's go to the top view, which actually this one is. Let me change this back to top view, and change it also to wireframe. Go to the front view. I'm not going to be using the right view here so much. I'll activate this view. Double click the camera, change this display to garage shading, and now that's my camera view, and this is my kind of 3D view. It's kind of nice to have a couple different views. Top view, side view. You can always change these around too. Under cameras, you can change this to right, left, front, back, side. If you need the right view, you can get the right view. But that's that view. So now I'm going to create the outer perimeter of this. And we'll do some basic animation. It's just simple puck movement and a camera movement. Maybe a little bit later, if I have time, we can get into creating other things. We'll create a rectangle line shape, and there's the rectangle there. If I go down to the properties for the rectangle, it shows you the size. You can change the size here. And the position, that's plane. Right now it's on the XY, which means it's lined up on the X axis, which is horizontally here, and the Y axis, which is vertically. I want it lined up on the XZ plane, which will be flat like that. I'm going to hit the middle mouse button to kind of make this full view, so you can see a little bit better. Change the width here a little bit wider and a little bit longer. And I can change the points here to rounding. There we go. So I can create a rounded effect like that, which is perfect for a wall of a hockey rink. Next, I want to extrude this upward. So to create the extrusion, I'm going to click on this little extrude icon. By clicking on this icon here and holding it down, this is like a subdivision surface. Click on the extrude icon. It creates an extrude object. You take the rectangle and make it part of the extrude object by dragging it onto the extrude. It makes it a child of the extrude object. And now I take the extrude and set the movement. Right now it's set the movement on the Z-axis. So if I go into 20 centimeters, you can see it's going to just extrude horizontally, which is not what we want to do. I want to make it extrude on the vertical. So I'll make this 0 on the Z-axis, and let's say 20 on the Y. There we go. We got this nice solid block. I'll make it a little bit taller, and then change the caps to no caps. None on both. So now I've got this wall with no caps. I can still go back in and change the rectangle's size here and its radius independent of those caps. Let's make a few materials and then we'll do some simple animation. Under Create, I'm going to go use the PBR material, which is physically based rendering material. I'll start with this one. I'll call it this material. You double click on the PBR here. You can call this puck underscore matte for material. I'm going to click on the color tab here and change the color to black. And under the basic here, under reflectance, it's a Lambertian reflection. I'm going to make this, instead of Lambertian, which is no specular highlights, I'll change it to GGX, which is a reflective surface. I'll bring the reflective strength down, which allows me to see more of the underlying color underneath. I'll increase the roughness of that specular highlight. I'll also bring the specular strength, which is the reflection of just the lights themselves, also down quite a bit. I'll take this material and drag it onto the cylinder, which I'll also double click and name puck. I usually like to name these things puck underscore obj, just so I know what objects are objects. This will be ground plane. I call this ice, I guess. Ice underscore obj, so it's an object level. And this extruded will be wall underscore extrude. OBJ possibly. Now let's make an ice material. So I'll go to create a new PBR material. And this one we'll call it ice. Underscore matte. Again, just my own naming conventions. Just try to get in the habit of naming things. I'll use color again. And this time with the color, I'll go to the color tab. I can make this white, maybe a slight bluish tint. I can throw a logo on there as well, which we can maybe get into a little bit later, because it does involve some texturing. We need to actually apply a texture. You can apply a texture by hitting this little triple dot here and load up a material. So if you go to the internet and type in ice rink, texture. There we go. You can actually grab any one of these guys. Make sure you grab something that's open source and doesn't have like the 123 RF. You got to pay for those. Shutterstock, same thing. White. Let's see. Let's grab something that's free. Bitbox. I'm not sure what Bitbox is. Is it a Free Texture Tuesday? Nice. There we go. Today's Wednesday, but let's go grab it ahead here. These are previews, but I think they'll be fine. If I just grab a preview, they're given away for free. Flickr. Scratch that. This is more like a close-up of ice, but we'll go ahead and grab it anyway. Let's go ahead and grab it, and we'll save link as HTML. Click on it and then download. Let's get rid of original size. Show it there. I'm going to grab this and put it right on my desktop just for efficiency. I'm going to call it ice texture and throw it on my desktop. It's easy to grab. I would recommend putting these inside of a project folder where your file and your ice textures are all together, because it does get hard to find things after a while. This will actually copy this at your project location, so I'm going to go ahead and put yes. Drag this onto that plane, and it should be automatically UV unwrapped, which it is. Cool. Nice. You can do the same thing with this outer rink too. So that works pretty well. I'm going to show options under display. I'm going to turn off the grid, which I believe is under filter, view. No. Grid, there we go. Turn off the grid temporarily. So there you go. So if you're looking through the camera, that's what you're going to see. Let me hold off on the next video. This is 15 minutes in. I'll do animation next.